目覚めたまえ我が主たちよ。
Link's Awakening on the Nintendo Switch is every bit of an embodiment of the old saying that you can never know what Nintendo is up to. I was every bit as grateful as I was surprised when I saw that we were getting a remake of this 26-year-old Game Boy classic during the February Direct. One of the very first thoughts I had when the original Nintendo Switch reveal happened is now that we're getting a console that's a handheld and an at-home plug-in TV console was that top-down or 2D Zelda would be dead, but here we are. An important thing to note is this really does try to be as faithful as possible to the original release. More of like a remake of Link's Awakening DX on the Game Boy Color though, so there isn't any more additional dungeons or content. The only additions to this remake was the addition of a dungeon rearranger type deal that Dampé can provide, but it serves more as a post-game fun activity and you find yourself just wanting to continue the story rather than playing this a bunch during the actual game. So if this is trying to be incredibly faithful to a Game Boy game but is a full priced Switch game, is it really worth the full pricing? Well, to cut right to the chase, if you're a die-hard Zelda fan or a really big fan of 2D top-down Zelda, or you remember fondly playing this game as a kid, or just fond of the original game in general, you should really get this game. It is an absolute treat to play this game with all of its glory, and it's definitely the definitive edition of the game. It's so nice to just walk around without loading each tile or zone of the map. Items are now passively equipped like the Pegasus boots, the sword, and the shield. Yes, you had to equip the sword and shield in the original game. And even adding more mechanics like the bomb arrows, as well as being able to stun enemies when they hit your shield. If you've never played Link's Awakening, it is a phenomenal handheld experience. It's short, but extremely memorable. With its wacky characters, weird setting, and just the oddity of having all of these weird Mario characters in the game, it is sure to leave an impact on you by the time you beat the game. The thing is it is a very short experience. Some of the earlier dungeons only can last up to like 10 minutes. And by the way, in the footage you're seeing this with a 3-heart challenge, me playing on hero mode, so I'm gonna be dying a lot. But even then, the dungeon was taking me like 10 minutes. The game will probably take you around 10 hours. You can squeeze extra time out of it by 100%ing the game, which is worth it because you get to do some fun side tasks, as well as getting some funny dialogue from the wacky characters, and doing Dampé's dungeon rearranger, where he gives you certain criteria and you have to fill in the slots from certain dungeon tiles that you have experienced throughout the game, and that's about it. Definitely a fun time waster and a good way to squeeze some extra time out of this title, but as the only extra addition for this remake, content wise, it's not anything too spectacular and is not at all one of the points that come to mind for saying that this is the definitive edition of the game. That is a major flaw I can see right there for the asking price of this game, because it was a Game Boy game, so it's gonna be shorter as it is the handheld experience, but we're asking full price. Hey, some of my favorite games of all time are handheld games like Metroid Zero and Fusion, so the extra money of the asking price, asking for a full title home console release, comes in the presentation of the game. And this is the first thing that you'll notice about the game. It is most likely what will make you want the game if you're into this type of art style. Top-down Zelda fan or not, you can't deny that the presentation of this game is beautiful, with its beautiful lighting and its textures making everything pop, giving it the diorama look, making you really feel like you're playing with toys on a set. This lends itself to being in a whole dream aesthetic, as things are fake. They're not real, but they're tangible. This is even amplified when you see that around the screen is always blurred or has some obscurity with darkness or something, giving you a sort of clouded vision, as if you were seeing through some sort of foggy lens, looking into the dreamscape. It's a really clever design idea, and it is to make everything feel all floaty and off, which is amplified by the fact that you're seeing Link going around piranha plants and Goombas. Pretty much feels like you're in Link's fever dream. I can't say how many times I had to stop and just look at the presentation of everything on the screen. Like, look at this little bear. Look at him. A Along with the adorable and stylistically popping presentation of the actual graphics comes the beautiful new arrangements of all these classic Game Boy songs, no longer hindered by the Game Boy sound card. Songs like the Ballad of the Windfish really hits hard and gives you a sort of relaxing but wholesome feel. It was actually a standout emotional moment seeing Marin sing to all the animals, and you just wanted to sit there and hang out with everyone. It's Zelda music. It's always gonna be so good, even with having such short looped music of the Game Boy. A lot of the songs opted for more strings and winded instruments, but I feel like some of the melodies are too soft and in the background compared to the Game Boy version, where the Game Boy sound card really adds an extra oomph or hardness to certain notes. Just look at these two, for example. The Game Boy one definitely hits harder, but at the same time, to convey the lostness and mysteriousness of the forest, being the first real area that you enter in the game, then I think the remake has it beat for setting the tone. But there's just something about the Game Boy sound card that I enjoy a lot. But that's the nice thing about remakes, right? You can always go back to the original and find the charm of the product it is for its time. I had to stop and gush over a lot of the music, like the later dungeons, and especially Tal Tal Heights. But even on the Game Boy, that song was an absolute banger. I cannot stress enough how much the porcelain style really looks beautiful in handheld or docked. Look how cute Link and Marin is. Seeing these cutscenes, I remember looking at these still frames as a kid and just imagining how it looked like, and now seeing them fully animated really does give me a special feeling. But let's say you didn't play this game as a kid, and let's also say you've never even tried 2D or top-down Zelda. Well, if that's the case, if you have Nintendo Switch Online, go to the SNES library and play Link to the Past. If you enjoy Link to the Past and really enjoy Link to the Past and want more top-down Zelda experience, then get this game. Don't get this game for your first top-down Zelda experience. The funny thing is the original Link's Awakening started off as a Link to the Past port for Game Boy and then eventually became its own thing. I think overall it provides a more streamlined and compact experience of Link to the Past while also having its own charm and a lot of character, sometimes I'd say even more characters than Link to the Past, in terms of the actual writing and the silliness of the characters and the dialogue in the game. But yeah, that's the main warning I'll heed, is that this game, I can't justify the price if you're not into 2D Zelda. Do not go into this being your first 2D Zelda or top-down Zelda because of its price and it being a Game Boy game. If you're not really into top-down Zelda, try another one, please. The format is still the same, it's just a lot more pretty looking. I mentioned a lot of the quality of life changes that they added earlier on in this review, such as auto-equipping the sword, shield, and Pegasus boots, as well as the power bracelets. Yeah, you even had to equip the power bracelets. I'd say a huge drop ball, in my opinion, is not auto-equipping the rock feather. You use the rock feather so often in this game, and it's such a natural thing to use with the Pegasus boots that it just seems clear that it should have been auto-equipped since they've done so many other quality of life changes. Just a minor gripe. But now an actual complaint and an actual flaw, and what I say is the biggest flaw other than trying to charge full price for this, is the fact that sometimes the performance kind of chugs. You sometimes get half of its frame rate drops and it's super noticeable, usually when you enter in new areas, and only for like a second or two, but it is very noticeable, and it pulls you right out immediately of the continuous connection of the entire map. And I get that things need to be loaded, but due to the nature of this game and the way that it's very immersive with making you feel like you are watching a diorama take place or these porcelain dolls move, it's just such a shame and feels like it's something that they really should have strived to perfect, because this game is such a joy to look at. And honestly, the only thing that I can justify the full pricing of this game, since it is a short Game Boy game, is the fact that its presentation is so phenomenal and up and above. It truly is the biggest selling point of this game. The art style and the entire engine they've created will make this game age beautifully, and it is such a joy to look at. And that's the only reason why I find these frame rate and performance drops such a big issue. Had it been any other game, it wouldn't be so big of a deal, or had this been cheaper, same thing. And of course, I'm not a frame rate and graphics snob, but it just really pulls you out of the beautiful presentation and atmosphere of Link's Awakening. Overall, it was such a surprise that this ended up getting ported to the Switch, and that they recreated this entire engine for it. It brings me such joy to know that 2D or top-down Zelda is still alive, and they recognize that there is a market for it. What I fear, however, is that this engine will just be taken and slapped onto Link to the Past, and then charging full price again, which I believe is extremely slimy. But I do think that this is a test for it. I think we will be getting a Link to the Past remake soon. For this specific engine, I could easily see Oracle of Ages or Oracle of Seasons in it, since it has more of a porcelain vibe. There are also Game Boy Color games that are extremely rich in character and wackiness like this game is. If you get this game because you're a fan of Zelda or top-down Zelda, or you've just recently gotten into it and you really love the presentation of this game, do the side stuff. It's very enjoyable and it will put more playtime onto the game. Maybe don't do the whole 3-heart hero mode challenge like I did and just scream a bunch. But let me know what you guys think. My stance is that I do think it is overpriced, but the presentation is what you're buying here. And after my 3-heart hero mode dumb challenge, I'll probably 100% it on my own, as well as doing Dungeon Maker on the go. I'm gonna call it Dungeon Maker, even though it clearly is not, but hey, maybe it's the small spark into the future of Dungeon Maker. Remember to subscribe with them bells on so you can catch the next news or discussion videos, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.